Hello, I'm Caroline. I'm also known as the Yoga Crow. Thanks for joining me for some yoga this afternoon. You might see I've got a chair on my mat today, and we're going to do a little bit of chair yoga. So we'll need to find a chair at home that's quite sturdy. Mine's metal. It doesn't need to be metal. Maybe it can be a kitchen chair or a desk chair, but something that doesn't move and feels quite sturdy that you can sit on, turn in very gently, and we'll be moving the chair as well. If you've got glasses on, pop them off and pop these away just here. And we're going to come to a seated position on our chair. So chairs can be really supportive. They can make yoga feel a little bit more accessible, sometimes a little bit easier. So great if you've got an injury or a mobility restriction, but also there are days when we just feel a bit fed up, a bit frustrated, a bit tired, don't really want to do anything. And chair yoga can feel just a little bit more achievable or accessible. So we need to sit at the front of our chairs, and we're trying not to lean back in the chair. So it's still a little bit of effort. So we're sitting at the front of the chair, so our feet are on the floor. And hopefully, I'll just shift back a little bit. You can see my feet and my toes are on the floor. And I'm still in that parallel foot position. So it's really working out what feels comfortable for you. And if you've got shorter legs, you might want to put something underneath your feet, a big book or a couple of yoga blocks if you've got them. And that will just help raise the feet up a little bit and enable you to reach the floor. Otherwise, we're looking for the toes to be pointing forwards, the knees to be tracking above the ankles here as well. We're going to roll the shoulders up, back and down, and bring the hands just to rest on the sides. They can be palms up or palms down, whatever feels most comfortable today. And then if you feel you would like to, you can close down the eyes. If closing the eyes doesn't feel like it will work for you today, you can just take the gaze to the floor. So you'll notice my head hasn't moved. I'm just looking almost down the end of my nose to the floor. And we call this softening our gaze or quietening our gaze. It's just so we're trying not to be distracted by anything around us in the room, whether that's movement or noise or something we can actually see. And sitting tall, so thinking about the length in your back, in your spine. The shoulders are soft, and there's length all the way up to the crown of your head. So sitting tall. Noticing the effort that takes a little bit of effort sitting in a good posture. Start to notice the contact with the floor, wherever you're sitting today. Feeling your feet in contact with the floor. Maybe lifting the toes up, spreading the toes out, and gently popping them back down. Notice your contact with the chair, the sitting bones, maybe the glutes. Notice if it feels like quite a lot of effort to sit up tall, sit up straight. And having the shoulders soft, down, away from the ears. We've created that space in the upper body for the breath. So in yoga, we always try and breathe in and out through our nose, if that's possible today. Bringing your awareness to the breath. Noticing how the air, when you breathe in through the nose, feels cool. And as you breathe out through the nostrils, notice how the exhalation, the breath out, feels a little bit warmer. The breath has been warmed by the body. Take a moment to accept any thoughts that are going through your mind at the moment and try and use the breath as your anchor. So it's natural for our minds to wander. Trying to bring those thoughts, our minds, back to concentrating on the breath. Where can you feel the breath? Is it reaching the belly? Is it expanding the belly? Feel it in the lungs with the rib cage expanding. And in the upper chest. And noticing it in the back of the body. So feeling the rib cage at the back of the body expanding, and maybe even feeling some movement in the lower back. Taking a few moments to concentrate on our breath. Allowing it to lengthen, to slow down. A really simple technique to calm our minds down. And prepare our bodies for some physical yoga. Tuck the chin gently in to the chest, allowing the back of the neck to lengthen, still dropping the shoulders away from the ears, and gently opening your eyes. We're going to come into a very gentle twist, so we'll take the hands out to the side just a little bit. If you've got enough space around you, you can reach out with the fingertips. We're going to breathe in here. And as we breathe out, we're turning to the right hand side. So we're working with our bodies here, working with the natural movement of the spine. We want to try and keep our hips, our pelvis parallel, our glutes very much on the chair. Maybe we can look a little bit further round over our right shoulder. And once you're there, maybe taking the hands to the chair. So you can take hands to the leg, back of the chair, wherever you can reach without compromising that length in the spine. And maybe using that grip, that hold, gently to rotate the spine a little bit further. And gently coming back to center. And we'll go over to the left-hand side. So taking the hands out, either reaching out or having the hands tucked in, breathing in. And as you breathe out, turning to the left-hand side. Again, working with that natural movement in the spine. Taking a moment there. Taking the gaze over the left shoulder. And then gently bringing the hands down. Maybe taking a hand to the outer thigh, to the chair, and just encouraging yourself to twist a little bit further. To creating space through the spine. It's like a massage for the spine. And then coming back through to center. We're going to roll the shoulders up, back and down, up, back and down, and as far forward as you can. So we're going to do this 2 more times, making really exaggerated movements. You can bring the elbows in if you would like to, bringing them all the way forward. So it feels almost like you're trying to pull the shoulder blades apart and back. And then we'll do it 3 times in the opposite direction. So we're going forwards now. Arching the back, bringing the shoulders down, sitting up, taking the shoulders back towards each other and back up. So creating a little bit of movement in the shoulders, releasing a little bit of tension or tightness in the shoulders and the trapezius muscles, especially if you've been using computers or laptops or phones, our upper backs can get quite tight. We're going to reach through our fingertips, so just making sure you've got enough space either side. Reaching through, and then we're going to breathe in and reach up. Dropping the shoulders away from the ears. Still reaching through the fingertips. And on the next exhalation, so breath out, we're going to reach over to the right hand side. So we don't need to go too far here. Our feet are still in that same position we started in. And our hips and our pelvis are down. They haven't moved, it's just the upper body. So we're looking for a little bit of a side stretch here. Coming back up to center and then over to the left hand side, reaching through. Just making sure you haven't collapsed the chest. You want to keep a lovely open chest. So we've got lots of space for the breath. And then coming back up to center and dropping the hands down. We're going to keep it simple and open the chest here. We're either going to hold opposite elbows, or maybe you can bring your hands into prayer position, Anjali Mudra, but behind the back, so behind the body. So rolling the shoulders up, back and down, and then either taking opposite elbows or coming into Anjali Mudra, that palm together position. Still sitting tall, dropping the shoulders down. So we're trying to stretch the pectoral muscles here at the top a little. Increase that space for the breath. And then slowly release that. And give the wrists a little bit of a roll. And then we'll come into what I call my motorbike pose now. We're going to take our fists out in front of us, drop the shoulders, and then it's almost like we're revving a motorbike. We're bringing the knuckles forwards. So this is a great stretch for the wrists. You'll often hear me talking about hands and feet. We don't look after our hands and feet enough, and they do so much for us. So just releasing some tension, some tightness, some stiffness in the hands and feet today. And then give the hands a really big stretch, a really good stretch out with the fingertips, reaching through all 5 or 4 fingers and thumb. And then slowly coming back down. We're going to come into a forward fold now. So I'm going to just take my chair and pop it side on. So these are all yoga poses or positions you can do, whether you're at home, at school, wherever you are. And it just allows you to stretch out the body and be supported by the chair. So it feels like it's not quite as much effort as a full yoga class. So we're going to reach up, breathing in. And as we reach down and fold forwards, we're leading with the heart. So we're coming through with the heart here. And you may want to take your feet a little bit wider, bringing the hands to the center between the feet. And allow the head and the neck to relax. So you can gently shake your head no, nod your head yes. Now with your feet, you want to make sure you haven't rocked into the little toe edge of the feet. I've noticed I already have. So I'm correcting that and I'm bringing my knees in a touch. So my body weight is still over both feet. It's even. And then very slowly, mindfully coming up to sitting. Holding onto the side of the chair, we'll point and flex the right foot. Give it a little circle in both directions, just bringing some movement to the ankles. And then we'll work on the left foot, so pointing and flexing. And bringing some circles both ways. My left foot is much harder to do both ways. And then bringing that back down. One last stretch or movement before we come up to standing and using the chair, and that's to get into the hips here. So you can begin by bringing the right knee in and giving that a really good hug. Still remembering we're not down here, we're sitting up tall, so finding that length in the spine again. The left foot is on the floor and the toes are pointing forwards, and you might want to stay here and you might be able to bring that knee into the chest a little bit more, getting into the hips there. Otherwise, you may want to bring the outside of the right ankle onto the thigh of the left leg. So finding that position there, it can be quite tight in the hip flexors and around the hips, so being mindful. If it feels fine and you want a little bit more of a stretch, you can gently push that right leg away from you. So I've got my hand on the inner thigh and the inner calf muscle here, not on the knee. So the knees are quite a sacred joint. That's how I like to describe it. It's a hinge joint. We need to look after our knees, so we don't apply any unnecessary pressure there. So gently pushing the leg away. And if you find that you've gone too far, just let go a little bit. Yoga is very much about what's working for your body in that moment on that day. So remembering that if your breath starts to get a little bit faster or laboured, or you're finding it hard to breathe, you've probably gone a little bit too far. We just need to be able to take our long, slow, deep breaths on whichever position we're in. Swapping sides. So popping the right foot down, right toes are pointing forwards, and then we're going to give that left knee a good hug. Now I immediately come down here, so I've got to remember to sit up tall, drop my shoulder blades away from the ears. Maybe bring the knee in a little bit closer. And then I'm taking the outside of the left ankle onto the top of the right thigh here. So exactly the same thing as we did before, knowing that you can stay by just hugging the knee. And then I'm going to push my leg away to increase that stretch. And remembering one side is always going to be a little bit tighter than the other. We're dominant on one side of our bodies, but also we don't have symmetrical bodies. So that makes things feel very different on different sides. Still remembering to sit tall, breathing, taking that slow, long inhalation and exhalation. And if it's really tight, remembering to breathe and concentrate on that breath. And then we can gently let go of that leg and bring it back down. So we're going to come up to standing now, and we're going to come into a forward fold using a chair. So this feels really nice and supportive. And you might have to move yourself once you come down. But to begin with, we're going to take our feet hip distance apart. So I often show that measurement, my fists together. That's in between the feet, and that's roughly hip distance. And there's a softness in the knees. What we try to do is not to lock the knees. It's not going to be healthy for the back of the legs either. So we want to have a micro bend. Maybe it's a bit more today, depending on how your knees are, but just making sure there's always a micro bend in the knees. And the hips, the pelvis are very much tracking above the ankles in line with the knees. We're bringing shoulders up, back and down, and we'll breathe in and reach up. And as we breathe out, we're folding forwards. Remember, we're leading with the heart, so it means we're encouraging our bodies to fold from the hips. Remember the micro bend in the knee. Maybe your forehead comes to the chair, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you have the hands on the chair. Make sure the head and the neck are relaxed, are soft. And then just check, you're going to see as I do that, I've just rocked back into my heels. So I'm bringing my body weight back over both feet. We want our body weight to be even over both feet. If you're able to hold the chair, maybe you want to stack the hands, make a pillow for the head. And if you know you're hypermobile, so super bendy or very flexible, just always have that micro bend in the knee. There's a temptation to go really far in yoga when you're very flexible. And actually what we need to do is build strength. From here, maybe you can bring the hands to the floor or hold opposite elbows, watching your head near the chair. Encourage your shoulders to stay away from the ears. So we're encouraging our shoulder blades to move down the body, down the back. And we're reaching the sitting bones up to the ceiling. To come up, be careful if you come all the way down, bring the hands to the chair, taking a moment there. And then we're going to push through our feet to come up, dropping the shoulders away from the ears and pushing all the way up to stand. So now we're going to come into downward facing dog, and we're going to use the chair again. I'm just going to pop the chair a little bit further away. And remember, when you've got the hands on the chair for downward facing dog, we're pushing down rather than away. And that will help us keep the chair steady as well. But that's also what we need to think about in the pose. So I'm going to step away a little bit further. My feet are still hip distance apart. There's still a bit of a softness in the knees here as well. So my micro bend. I'm going to breathe in and reach up. Breathe out, and I'm bringing my hands to the chair and coming forwards just a little bit. And I'm holding either side, or you can have your hands on the flat on the chair. It just depends on what chair you're using actually and how stable it feels. And then I'm going to take my feet back a little bit more. So there's a little bit of adjustment here. And remembering, we're thinking about our sitting bones. So right, just almost at the top of the thighs there. We want those to be the highest point. So thinking about those reaching up to the ceiling. The head, the neck, soft, maybe shake yes and no very gently. Shoulders away from ears. The ears are in line with the upper arms. And we've created that sort of triangle shape. So downward dog, this feels lovely because we're not having to think too much about the legs. We've got a lovely length in the back and the spine. I've still got a micro bend in the knee, so I know I've not locked the knees. And then from here, you can very carefully and slowly walk the feet towards the chair, roll the shoulders back and down, and take a moment there to catch your breath. I'm just going to show you now something we're going to do. We're going to come from almost a plank position into downward dog. It feels quite strong, so feel free to stick with downward dog or stay in plank for a little bit, come out and change it around, remembering it's your yoga practice, so whatever works with you and for you today. So we're going to come into what looks like a sort of plank position. I have my hands flat on the chair, but again, it just depends on what chair you're using. You might prefer to hold the chair on either side. My belly button, I'm pulling my belly button in, my navel towards my spine. That's creating a little bit of support for my lower back. If my shoulders come up to my ears, I'm dropping the shoulders away from the ears. And my head and neck in line with the spine here. And then I'm able to push back into an almost sort of simple version of downward facing dog. So we can come through here. So take a moment, we're going to set ourselves up in plank to begin with. Working out whether holding on to the opposite each side of the chair feels better, or having the hands on the chair. Find that length. Remember, we want that lovely long line. And you can have a softness in the elbows here. There's no need for them to be straight. Shoulders are away from ears, and the gaze is towards the floor ahead. Remember to pull the navel in, belly button to spine. And breathing. At any point coming out of this, it's strong on the arms. On the next exhalation, we're going to push back and come into a downward facing dog. So remembering that micro bend in the knees and finding that length in the back, dropping the shoulder blades back to where they came from. And then we'll come back into our plank position very gently. Shoulders away from ears, finding that length in the spine. Slowly walking the feet in, taking a moment and remembering the head's been down, so taking your time to come up to standing. We're going to finish off here with a balance. So we will come into a version of eagle pose, which is one of my favorites, Garindasana. It kind of works the whole body. And with a chair, or you can do this by the wall, you've got a little bit of support for the balance as well. So to begin with, I'm going to ground through my right foot. When I say ground, I'm popping that right foot down, I'm spreading the toes, and I've got a lovely stable base. And then from there, I'm bringing my left leg over my right, and I'm crossing it all the way around. So I'm going to bend into that left leg just a little bit. If this is sore on the knees for any reason, you can just stay with bent legs or bring the foot just across. So once you're there, I sometimes call this contortionist pose because we're contorting our bodies. We want to think about our hips. Are they level? So straight away, I can feel that one's kicking out a little bit. So I want to bring a horizontal line to the hips there. Sitting. I'm sort of almost sitting down. Remember to think about the quadricep muscles, the muscles in the front of the thighs, engaging those. So it just means tensing them up. And then if you are feeling balanced, you can reach up with the right hand. Find that length. Sitting down maybe a little bit more, encouraging the shoulders to stay down. And then slowly unraveling yourself and coming up to stand. Give everything a wiggle. So the full pose, so you're aware of it, is the leg all the way around. Oh, I'm wobbly today. And then we bring the hands all the way around as well. And then come over to the other side. This is a great strengthening pose for our legs and our bones. So I'm going to ground through my left foot now, spread the toes, bending into that leg, making sure the toes are pointing forwards and bringing the right leg all the way around, maybe giving it a hand. Remembering if it doesn't feel right, maybe taking the leg away, just having the toes on the floor. Sitting down, shoulders away from ears, and then maybe reaching up with the fingertips, finding some length in the body there. So we're doing eagle legs, really. Garudasana legs. One more breath here. Gently bring the arm down, unhooking yourself and giving everything a little bit of a wiggle. We'll bring our chair back to sit down on. Finding that same position we began in, feet are to the floor, feet are parallel, toes are pointing forwards, finding that length in the spine and sitting tall. And either bringing the hands down to the thighs, hands can be turned up or turned down. Maybe it helps to bring the hands to the belly to connect with the breath. And then if you would like to, closing down the eyes. Having the sense of the feet in contact with the floor. That length through the back. Space for the breath. And noticing how you feel after nearly 30 minutes of supported yoga, stretching the body with the support of a chair. Releasing the muscles, softening the ligaments, allows our body and our mind to soften as well. If the mind wanders, bring the thoughts back to the breath, using the breath as an anchor. Still allowing the shoulders to remain soft, for there to be length in the back. And then slowly bringing the hands together at heart center into that Anjali Mudra or prayer position. This is joining both halves of the body together. Maybe the hands feel warm, created a little bit of heat through our yoga practice. Taking 3 more breaths here. I'm going to sigh the breath out. I'm going to take my hands up to my forehead to remind us to have kind thoughts, to my lips to remind us to have kind words, and back down to my heart center to remind us all to have kind actions. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me for yoga. and choosing this class today. If you'd like any more yoga or any more classes and tips, there are plenty more videos on my YouTube channel. And if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up and maybe click the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm Caroline, I'm the Yoga Crow. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about me and my teaching, my website is www.theyogacrow.com. Thanks again, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.